Okay, Torah concept, New Testament. Let us be content with food and raiment or clothing. Okay, so Paul's exhortation in 1 Timothy 6, verse 8, having food and raiment, let us be therewith content. Okay, reflects a foundational ethic in the Torah. The basic provision is sufficient, and that gratitude and dependence on God are preferable to material striving. While the Torah doesn't use the exact phrase "be content," it repeatedly emphasizes reliance on God for daily sustenance and warns against covetousness and excess. The Torah parallels to contentment with food and raiment or clothing. Genesis chapter 28 verses 20 to 21. If God will be with me and give me bread to eat and clothing to wear. Okay, so remember Jacob's vow here identifies food and clothing as sufficient signs of divine provision. Okay, Exodus 16 verses 4 through 5. I will rain bread from heaven and gather a day's portion every day. Daily provision. Manna teaches dependence on God for basic needs, not accumulation. Okay, so Deuteronomy chapter 2 verse 7. These 40 years you have lacked nothing, is what Moshe says. Okay, so wilderness sufficiency. Despite minimal possessions, Israel was sustained with food and clothing were enough. In fact, their clothes never wore out, right? And in Deuteronomy 8, 3 through 4, your clothing did not wear out. Oh, there it is. It says, and he fed you with manna. So divine care, God's provision of food and clothing is framed as sufficient and sustaining. Deuteronomy 10, verse 18, he gives food and clothing to the orphan and the widow. Justice and provision, God's care for the vulnerable includes only essentials like food and clothing. Okay, in Deuteronomy 29, verse 5, your clothes have not worn out. Your sandals have not worn out. So preservation of basics, clothing and sustenance are preserved miraculously. No excess is needed. The comments on contentment with essential reflects godliness and counters greed. The Torah's framing of food and clothing as sufficient is not just practical, it's theological. It teaches that gratitude, humility, and trust are the proper posture towards provision. Paul's statement in 1 Timothy 6:8 is a direct echo of the Torah covenantal worldview. This is how Paul taught Torah. The Torah has not passed away.